Did you have enough to eat? Are you sure you studied enough for the test? Have you practiced the guitar, piano and trumpet for an hour each night? Do you have any updates on your test scores? Those would be the starter questions my mother would ask me every night. If I couldn't say yes to every single question, I would have to stay up a little later and finish whatever task I had not completed. It annoyed me greatly at the time, but now that I'm 25 and live around 3 hours away from my mother, I am forever grateful for how she treated me. I did not graduate college or start a business, but I was the general manager of a store that generated around $2.5 million a year. I made enough to live somewhat luxuriously, and that was all thanks to all of the times my mother made sure I had every single task completed. For my age, I have accomplished a lot. I was making 4 times I thought I would ever make in a year with my job. I was dating a girl that was absolutely perfect to me. Her name was Carolyn, and I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this funny, sweet, caring, and fiery woman. She had beautiful, short brown hair, eyes that changed colors, and a face that made me smile every time she walked by my side. I loved her, and I knew I wanted to marry her. That is why, when my mother gave me a phone call and asked if she could move in with me, I said, "Yeah, just give me a call when you get close to my house." She let out a sigh of relief and hung up the phone without saying another word to me. My girlfriend was living with me at the time, but I really thought she wouldn't have any sort of problem living with my mother. I mean, even when I told my girlfriend that my mother was coming to live with us for a while, she just gave me a smile and told me that I was a good son. I also knew my mother would be excited I found a woman so perfect for me. My mother came to my house 2 days ago. Carolyn and I were watching a movie on the TV when I got a call from my mother. She told me she was around 30 minutes away. It was 8 p.m., but I didn't care. I was excited. I wanted my mother to see how happy and successful I was. But when my mother walked into my house, she immediately started talking about how dirty my house was. I tried telling her that we weren't expecting her to come so soon, but with a glare, she said, "This isn't how I raised you. You used to be such an obedient and good child. Now you're some rebellious punk." I gave her a small laugh and showed her to our spare bedroom. She started unloading her luggage in her room, and I walked back to the living room. Carolyn looked at me with a face of concern, but with a reassuring hand on her shoulder, I told her that my mother would quickly get used to our house. She gave me a small nod and walked to our room. I called out to her to tell her that the movie wasn't over yet, but she ignored me and continued to walk into our room. Yes, my feelings were hurt, but I knew why she would feel insulted. I mean, we both cleaned our house twice a week after work. We busted our ass to make the house seem as immaculate as possible. But what my mother said was pretty much a slap in our face. I finished the movie and walked into the bedroom. Carolyn was already asleep. I laid next to her and tried to fall asleep. But right as I started to drift off to sleep, I saw a figure standing in our room. It was my mother. I tried to get out of bed and guide her back to her room, but before I get out of my bed, my eyelids became heavy and they slowly closed while my mind fell into a deep slumber. I woke up yesterday morning and saw that our room was a complete wreck. every single drawer of our dresser was lying on the ground. Everything that was inside of the dresser was now covering pretty much every inch of our room. I got out of bed and heard Carolyn's voice coming from the living room. With a sigh, I walked out of our room and saw that my wife and mother were having a very heated argument. Despite feeling slightly disappointed that there were already problems between my girlfriend and mother, I got in between them and did my best to settle them down. Once they managed to stop yelling at each other, I turned to my mother and asked her, "Why did you go through all of our stuff? Were you trying to look for anything?" After letting out an exasperated huff, my mother said, "I was just looking for your test scores. I know you studied hard for the test. Why wouldn't you show them to me?" Carolyn let out a snort and walked out of the room. I put my hand on my mother's shoulder and sat her down on the couch, feeling concerned. I asked her, "What are you talking about? It's been almost 8 years since I took my last test. Are you feeling okay?" Tears started to fall down my mother's face as she started to sob. I patted her shoulder and told her I would find her some help, but she smacked my hand and started to scream, "You need to go take the test that you have studied so hard for. I can't let you throw away your life like that. Go take the test and tell me how you did." I started to tell her that I didn't have any upcoming tests and that we were fine, but I couldn't let a word out. Hell, I couldn't even breathe. I reached out to her, but everything blacked out on me. I woke up to the sound of my wife screaming. I couldn't really make out what she was saying, but my mother sat next to me. When I tried getting up, she pushed me back on the couch and told me to remain calm and relax until the paramedics arrived. When the paramedics got to my house, they loaded me up on the gurney and pretty much threw me into the back of the ambulance. I tried asking them what was happening, but all I could really get out was a series of unintelligible mumbles and gurgles. Everything went black again, and I didn't wake up until around 6 a.m. this morning. In the past 3 hours, I have learned that I have a tumor in my brain. My chances are pretty good. I asked the nurse where Carolyn and my mother were. She gave me a small smile and a nod before coming back in with Carolyn. Carolyn rushed to my side and started to sob on my shoulder. She kept telling me that I was fine and that she was happy they caught it in time. When I asked her where my mother was, she let out another sob and said, "Baby, please, enough of that. You know your mother died 3 years ago. I don't know why you keep doing this to me. I tried to support you and to understand the stress you must be feeling. I even tried playing along with you, but this is too much, baby. Please just stop." I know my mother died 3 years ago, but that doesn't mean she's gone. I mean, she was there for me when my previous manager died 2 years ago. He was shot in the head. Did I kill him? Of course I didn't. I don't even own a gun. My mother just wanted to make sure I got the best position possible at my job. She was also there when Carolyn's ex-fiancé was found in the middle of his living room. His face was completely torn off and his limbs were sliced off and thrown all around his room. Did I do it? How could I? I didn't even know where he lived. What I'm saying is, my mother loved me and she always made sure I was always given the best opportunity. For now, I will act like I made a mental breakthrough. I will play the part of a man that was under so much stress that he imagined his mother still being alive. I will spill tears and let out sobs as I tell the doctors, nurses, and Carolyn that I have finally made peace. But most of all, I will wait for my mother's return.